Hey everybody, what's going on? Nick here, founder of Lead Mining, and welcome back to another episode of Masterminds. On today's episode, I've got a very special guest. I'm super excited to dive in myself. We've got Nathan Brooks. Hey Nathan, how's it going, man?
Oh man, so good. Thank you for having me on the podcast, and I'm stoked for this.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, dude. Me too. We've been chatting a lot. What's cool about this is, we're in the same mastermind. We connected there. A lot of trust and rapport built through that. So we haven't even spoken on the phone yet or met on video, which is cool. It's kind of been overdue, but we're actually working some real estate deals together. We've done it all via messaging right now, which is
It's
cool.
so crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so funny to me, but I love these relationships like that where they developed in something cool, and we work deals, and we build, even more and more trust and make money together and have fun, and so that's what life's about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how we met is you made this very lucrative post online saying that you were looking essentially, I have to explain to me, you're basically looking for private money to help scale your operation, right? And what you were offering in return after I ran my calculator numbers, I was like, wow, like this is really great. Now, one thing about me is people say, Nick, do you invest in real estate? And I'm like, I'm only going to touch like the best deals on earth because I don't want to. Lead mining makes me so much income that, I don't really have to delve too much in these other arenas to have a lot of money.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but I still understand that I'm almost at a point where I'm about to have like almost 700,000 in cash in the bank. And I also know that that's a huge disservice to my future as well. So anyways, you made this post, I ran up the numbers and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So with that brief intro, do you want to tell that, and I know you're extremely multifaceted, in what you do. I think you run an education platform, you invest yourself, and the reason we met has nothing to do with the other two, so I know you have a lot, but if you want to just introduce yourself and to what you are and who you do, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and congrats on your success with the business too. I think that's amazing. And being a steward of those resources that you make is, you know, more important really than even just the making it. So I think
Yeah.
it's critical that we think about it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Nathan Brooks. I'm a real estate investor. I've been doing it for 15 plus years, and I really enjoy the investing side, like buying them, renovating them, selling or holding. I've done 700 plus, flips over the last, 6 or 7 years, and built hundreds of new construction units, and developed ground as well. So we've done a few ground up developments. And then, like you mentioned, we'll have the coaching company as well. So really passionate about helping people figure out how to get to 0 to 1 or 1 to 2, because it's amazing to me how many people get stuck in that analysis paralysis stage instead of, just a little bit further, and we can get them a little bit further past that, past the fear and past the anxiety of making a decision,
Yeah.
and
Right.
how can we help them do that? And so I'm really passionate, and it's fun to be able to have the active business side where, I know there's a ton of coaches out there, but who are actually doing it and teaching it. And so then we get to utilize the learning on both sides of that to then, make both sides of that business better.
Skyrocket. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And a couple of cool things there that you just brought up, is the 0 to 1 and people getting out of their own way. One thing I love about lead mining, the lead generation company, is I'm a part of an education company now, and I used to run one 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is like a lot of people are like, I don't want to say they're stuck in education, but the step after education is a scary one, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, wait a second, I got to actually put my best effort forward. I have to see if I'm good enough. Can I just keep watching one day and then continue getting good enough without doing it? And I really respect that. But one thing I love about the lead generation business is when people are on the phone with me, to your point, they're ready. you know, and
Yep.
that's why I love all of my clients so much, because they're in a different world. And I just absolutely
Mhm.
love that when anyone calls me, even if they don't buy right now or whatever, I love that transition that they're in, because they're like, if I hire you, I'm going to get leads. And if I'm going to get leads, then I'm going to close deals. And if I'm going to close deals, then I'm actually doing this. And it's cool to see that arc. So that's, you're almost saying that your coaching program focuses on, you know, getting from 0 to 3 and then seeing that you can do this, you have a business.
100%. And like you said, so many people get stuck in there. And, you know, we both know so many people who've been successful, but they had to get over that fear of taking action. And so the fear of taking action, you know, what we know psychologically is there's something in between that we haven't convinced ourselves, we haven't shown ourselves that there's a clear enough path, or the upside doesn't outweigh the downsides. Like, I'm so fearful to, you know, either pay for coaching, or I'm so fearful to buy that first house or second house or whatever. And so how do you, in a very clear and a very systematic way, learn that, right? Well, there's so many, there's so much information out there. It's not like you can't go and learn it on YouTube, or you can't go and whatever. So it's not like we have some secret. The secret is you actually have a plan and you follow that plan and you do it over and over and over and over and over. And, you know, sometimes you fail, sometimes you get them wrong, sometimes you buy them wrong, but
Yeah.
that's what learning's about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and just how, like, you know, we are, you know, we're doing our first deal together.
Yep.
And, you know, and I'm like pounding you with numerical questions. Like, we've got a vision, Airbnb. And one of my questions was, hey, if we don't Airbnb and we do go to long-term renting, how does
Mm-hmm.
that look? And so it's like, and that I'm pretty good with math. So even without a lot of experience, I have a lot of, you know, strong questions. But, you know, I think that's what's important to understand. And it's like, you know, whenever you're looking at a deal, one thing I look at is, you know, how many ways is there to lose it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then what can I do to overcome that loss, you know? And I think that I'm a big leverage guy. You know, I didn't even know, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, I don't even think I knew what leverage meant till I was like 29, maybe 31, maybe 31.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that all business is leveraging, and it's getting employees to do great work, and it's getting people to duplicate your effort, and it's just leveraging, you know, everything around you, you know, you can to get further.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you just said is key. Is it's not just the leverage of dollars either. It's the leverage of concepts, leverage of systems and processes. It's leverage of
Right.
people and understanding. And so, you know, when you can put all those things together, that's where the special sauce happens.
Yeah. No, and I think real estate is really cool in that regard, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, mindset is, I think, the biggest shift people can make. And one thing I've learned through my girlfriend, because I've already like we're already good, you know, and so it's like, you know, we've already made it, and I can still see fear in her,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like we're already set. And so I can really, and I like that. That's no judgment. That's understanding that our imposter syndrome is real. Well, she's like, Nick, I don't know if I could. I said, well, I think you can do it. I know you can do it. I know that if we focus on this, that you will be just as successful as where I'm, and a
Mm-hmm.
totally different right. But I can see like other people's fears, and sometimes that can be good and bad, right? Sometimes that can be frustrating. Like, come on, man, like I could totally see this in you. Like, how come you can't see that in yourself? And then, and then sometimes it can be good, because I have a saying, and it is what I've learned in life is, it takes someone believing in you more than you believe in yourself
Mm-hmm.
to take action,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's what else is interesting in those situations too is you know, we grow up in the whatever environment we've grown up in, and you know, I don't know your girlfriend, but this story is not a new one, right? And so, and so many wealthy people who still were driven by that same, you know, whether it's trauma or it's the way that they grew up, or, and again, not saying it has anything to do with her or not, but it's we have that so ingrained that, you know, it's hard to recognize when you're like, oh, hey, Nicholas, we're in a good spot, man. Like, hey, and then the cool part is the more clear we define that, it's like, hey, if we have X number of dollars in the bank and we make this amount of money and we have this net worth set, like, we're good.
Right.
And
Creating a
my coach,
baseline.
yeah, a baseline. And my coach
Baseline.
calls it, you know, stop moving the goalpost. So not
Right.
like you can't go build a bigger business if you want, but don't move the goalpost. Like, celebrate where you're at and say, hey,
Mm.
we made it here. This is
Amen.
incredible.
Amen. You know, and being, I will say, you know, and to the other point you were making earlier about entrepreneurship and being new and some of the fears of starting out, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, I've been in business 6 years, and some weeks, and we've never done less than like $9,000 a week in sales. Okay.
Mhm.
You know, maybe
Mhm.
7,000 was a low dip a couple years ago, but definitely never less than 7 in 6 years. And so much from trying to say is so many sales have come in daily, and still some days I'm like, ugh, I don't know, is today going to be the last day? You know, like I
Right. Right.
I think that there's like you know, some people, you know, I always think of like a business apocalypse, right? It's like this irrational
Mhm.
fear that I'm going to go from doing $30,000 a week in sales to zero, you know, irrationally. So it's like, and I share that because even as a seasoned person, I feel that. So I share that to
Mhm.
sympathize with someone who's starting out,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I don't know, even if it's, you know, it's probably not irrational to be afraid that you're going to go from, you know, 30,000 a week to zero. But, you know, the question becomes, okay, well, how do I mitigate that feeling? How do I
Exactly.
mitigate, you know,
Exactly.
what's causing that fear? Okay,
Yeah.
well, how much does it cost me to operate my business? Okay, well, it costs me, you know, $5,000 a week or whatever, 20 grand, who knows, whatever it is. Okay, well, I take that number times, you know, 6 months and I put the money in the bank. Like, okay, we might have 1 week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks that we don't have the
Right.
same, you know, sales,
Sales.
but it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so I like being able to, when you can actually get after the thing that's causing the pain, then you can solve the problem.
Right. Well, you know, and for me, I love that you said that. For me, it actually is good because my business is so automated that I can get lazy. So one thing I
Mm,
noticed that's unique about me that I'd really recommend for all entrepreneurs, just because it's been working for so long, and that it's that feeling for me is my internal balance indicator, right? The same way how like when you know, when you have shoulder pain, it's a sign that you're sitting funny, that you're doing something wrong. You're not just getting shoulder pain, right?
yeah.
You're actually doing something in your daily life that, and you know what I've learned, and this is true for me. I'm a hard left leaner. Whenever I have like a armrest, I'm like wrenching it, and I didn't even realize that. And
Oh,
that
wow.
that's just a small example, but what I look for in the pain is where can I overcompensate. I love how your overcompensating was planning and mathematical. You know, my overcompensating is
Yep.
what system can I implement in my business to continue customers keep coming in. I agree with what you said. I 100%. I love where your head went with it. For me, I'm like, okay, should I make sure I'm sending maybe one more marketing email per week, or should I
Yep.
add a couple of Facebook ads to my roster? But either way, I think it's important to do two things. One, I do have a healthy amount of fear, right? And that
Mhm,
fear,
mhm.
instead of it scaring me, you know what it does? It causes me to take action on things that just serve me, you know?
Yes. Yes. Well, and I love what you just said, because the so I spent a lot of time training martial arts and,
Oh,
you know,
cool.
training jujitsu, been in a cage fight at age 39 in front of thousands of people. Like, I went into those things and it's impossible not to have fear. Like, you're getting into a cage fight and you're going to literally be in a fist fight in the middle of a ring in front of a bunch of people. And the thing I loved about that training, and the thing I love about the practice of martial arts, is because it requires you to harness that fear in that moment, in that experience, but it then it requires you to take action, even though it is happening, you know?
Right.
And so I think business is no different. Now, obviously somebody's not trying to punch you in the face, but
Sometimes.
you know, I mean, you know, metaphorically for sure, or in sometimes other business, but you know, it's so important to recognize these moments when you get to see the fear part and name it. Like, instead of trying to ignore it, you get to name it and say, okay, what's causing this fear? What do I do about it? And then you get to not navigate because of the fear. You get to navigate and say, I see you, and I'm going to take this action based on
Feel
the
you.
actual decision I made it, even though I see it over here.
Yeah. Well, you know, and one thing Stephen Covey says that reminds me of what you're saying is, out of the thousands of people hacking at the leaves of their problem, there are only a few hacking at the roots.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important to make sure that we don't just, we're not just cutting the grass, we're killing the grass. We're digging it up. You know, we don't just want it. We don't just want to deal with it again next week. And, you know, one of our company policies are solve for prosperity, you know, and it's because I've been in corporate boardrooms 9 years ago, and something breaks. And then the first solution that's brought up is, yeah, that's it. But that first solution has 4 more consequences that we didn't want to sit there and think about for just a couple more minutes. So I have a rule, and that is, when a solution is presented, let's just think on it for 10 more minutes. Okay. If 10 minutes from now, it's still a great idea, then it really is a great idea. But let's just not jump on and latch onto it like we're trying to like understand childhood trauma. Oh, it was this one thing that happened to fix all my problems. No, it's not.
No, I like the pause. You know, the other thing I learned the hard way in a big way was, you know, speaking to what you just said, is that so many years I thought that the problem solving was the decision in what we made. So like, okay, we're going to make this plan and we're going to do that. That's planning. We're going to go flip 50 houses or whatever.
Right.
That actually is not planning. That is a part of the plan, but it doesn't include the contingency of that plan. And like you just, you know, spoke to, like, let's spend 10 more minutes or maybe an hour, or maybe we sleep on it.
What's going to go wrong?
Yeah. What's going to go wrong? And you and I both know, every single thing, there's something that has a potential to go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not because, you know, I'm not a negative person. I don't think you are either. That's not the point. The point is, we get into it. You know, I love the Navy SEALs. I love everything about the Navy SEALs, and
stuff.
I'm obsessed. And, you know, the Navy SEALs, what makes them so great? Well, first of all, they train their asses off, right? So they're, you know, elite because they do the work, and they're also elite because they think about plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, like, and they have the coordination, communication, and trust built over time to operate in the craziest environments in the world. And so, you know, I'm always looking for places, well, just like fighters, right? You can, if you can be so coordinated and so technical and so effortless in the middle of a prize fight in front of, you know, 100,000 people, you know, there's something to be learned about that psychology and that mental strength and fortitude.
Right.
And so once we started talking about the contingency part of that, it made a huge impact too.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's why, like, I actually deduce my business down to daily tasks.
Yeah.
Okay? If I have a booking link on my website and my cell phone number on my website, and I answer my phone when it rings, and I show up to calls when they're scheduled, I cannot fail. Okay.
Yeah.
If I throw in with that posting on social media and emailing weekly, I will continue to not fail. And it's like, then if I add on to the top of that Facebook ads and running podcasts, I will continue to not fail. And so I kind of create this baseline of actions that allows me, and that I love the way you're wording it, because they are contingency plans to other realms of failure. Well, what else? How else could I fail? Okay. And like recently this year, I put $20,000 into automations. And I'll give a big tip to everybody out there real quick. If you have a service you've been putting off paying for, my suggestion is to find someone you absolutely trust through a referral. Okay. And then give them a lot of money. And what I recently did is I created a bank of hours with this automation company. And in the past, whenever something broke, I would go, later, we'll add it to the list of things we are never going to do. Right. And this list of things that were never getting done were just adding up. And then I hired this company, and now I'm like, oh, I got a guy. and it's all prepaid. If I hadn't already paid for it, I would not be making the plunge, because it is expensive. But you know what? I do have the money. So it's not like it, and it still needs to be done. But so it was an interesting mindset shift for me to prepay and know that this bank account is like saying, use me. If I hadn't already paid, I wouldn't feel that way. But now I'm like hyper eager to solve a problem I've been really procrastinating on for a long time. And so I just wanted to share that tip for you and then anyone else watching, because that was really powerful for me to understand. And I found a company I trust, Vital Consulting, just to give them a plug, J.R. Keene's company. Totally awesome. So really,
that's amazing. Well, and it's interesting, like that, like anything, if you read a book like Profit First, for instance, and it talks about doing that for everything, like, hey, you set aside profit so you know what you're paying yourself. You set aside your tax account so you know how much you owe in taxes. You set aside, we're working on hiring a full-time marketing person in our coaching business. Well, guess what? We have an account that we're set aside the money we make as we do that. So we know, hey, we can pull the trigger. There's no, concern.
It's not going to crush us. Right?
It's not going to crush us. Yeah.
Right.
And guess what? We talk about it as a team. Like, of course, we can hire third-party marketing people. They're great. But would it be awesome to have somebody internal? Yes, of course. But we make those decisions in alignment with, what we're actually planning to do. So what you say makes perfect sense. And then also the cool part is there's not pain associated with that decision every time. You're like, yes, I'm already doing it. I'm already doing it. Yeah. I've already set aside. And then if you have to write another check, or when you do, like, you already know, hey, these guys are awesome. Yeah, it's totally worth it. It's an investment in the thing that, continues to run and help provide them this amazing life for you and your girlfriend and doing what you want. Exactly.
And, and I think that's another piece too, is, creating, I think, I was a restaurant manager for 13 years. Okay. So anyone who's ever done that, have you ever been in restaurants before, Nathan?
Yes. I, from basically high school through middle of college, I ran a bar in college. I waited at like high-end restaurants. And so, yes, done it.
So you get it. Yeah. And then, so like one thing about being a manager is, you work so much, and, and I remember 70 hours a week, that was with the commute, to be fair. Okay. But it was still 70 hours a week for almost 12 years, and it didn't matter the concept. I think IHOP drove me the hardest. There was actually this company after IHOP that I worked at, called Leroy Selman's down here. That was awesome. But they worked the shit out of me over there. But I share all that to say, when I created my business now, I had this insane experience of literally, if my feet were not in the building, the restaurant ran like shit. I was superior. I was a great leader. And, it kind of sucked, because I would leave and then the other manager would literally blow up all the attitudes I've been building up all day long. Everyone's ready to quit. I have like Thursday off, and I'm like coming back Friday, like, what happened? But, I got so good. I recently spoke live at a RIA group, and I used to say I got so good at eating shit that it kind of backfired on me, and they started shoveling more shit my way, and they were like, yeah, Nick will carry us through this bad manager's problem or through this thing. Now, what I learned was what I need to create can't depend on where my feet are. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and it's like I cannot have the alarms going off. Yeah, what? It's like in restaurants, I would get calls at 3 a.m. The alarm's going off. The restaurant's an hour away. What are we talking about here? Okay.
No. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, in that moment, and I have a feeling you probably say this, but I'm not putting words in your mouth, which is, if you're working that hard and building that kind of culture in the restaurant or culture wherever, like, and by the way, whatever you're listening this to and whatever job you're doing, it doesn't make you less or more important, whether you're at a restaurant or you're running a multi-million-dollar business or you literally dig ditches or whatever, you're a teacher. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you can make the impact creating a positive space and creating a positive culture, right?
Right.
And so like in this circumstance, you may or may not have had the ability to fire that person. But man, I have found now when you have somebody like that in your organization, it is go time. Not as in go do something else. It's called go fire that person
Right.
and get
100%.
them out.
100%.
There's nothing like that negative culture where one person, just blows up, like you said, blows up the entire thing. And people around you are like, Nicholas, like, why is this person still here? They suck.
Exactly.
They're a cancer to our culture.
Yeah, they're hurting you way more than they're. Well, that was a cool thing about restaurants was I remember firing. I've probably trained over 1,000 people in my life, and I can guarantee you I've fired at least 50. And I love firing people. Now I don't do it at lead mining anymore because we don't need to. Thank God. Lead mining is cool because it's all statistics. If you don't get a lot of my clients don't know this, but if my cold callers don't get a certain amount of leads per hour, I don't let them work. But it's not like you're fired. It's more like, hey, you're not a natural. And I'm really just looking for naturals. I always say at lead mining, I'm not trying to make a crappy cold caller great. I'm trying to make a natural cold caller even better is really my ideal employee. But anyways, the terminations, I'll never forget my first fire ever. I was running a Dunkin' Donuts, okay, making $600 a week. All right. And I was my first termination ever. And I was literally like
sweating.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if he was going to punch me or not. I'm also like, you can't tell from this angle, but I'm like 5'6.5". Right now, now in my stature, when you meet me, a lot of people are like, oh, you feel so tall. But however, back then I was 20 something and I don't think I was that big. But so I remember I was like, you're fired. Like, I didn't know if they were gonna like throw blows. I was ready though. I was ready. In the end, I remember it was just so wonderful. And you see what happens when you terminate the right person. It's like it's like everyone else is singing, so he's a jolly good fellow. It's like you're on their shoulder, you slayed their dragon, when you do fire the right person. Because that person's been making every employee and Lord knows how many customers miserable. And one last thing I'll share is by the time you realize you should fire someone, it's way too fucking late. Okay. And they have done a wrecking ball of damage that is going to be, and then the minute you fire them, all the shit's going to come. Oh yeah, I remember I fired this guy. It took me forever. And then everyone's like, he was showing up drunk. He did this. I'm like, I could have fired this guy months ago if you guys just would have said something a long time ago,
100%. In Jim Collins' Good to Great, he talks about the 36 hours of pain and that, we make this big, long thing that, we drag it on and on and on and on and on. And really, truly, it's the 24 hours before and then maybe 12 hours after. And then it's like, oh, what relief. Like, I'm finally, made the actual decision. And, I don't know how many people I've fired, more than I'd like, and honestly, you know, I don't know for you, but early on as a leader and manager in my own businesses, I wasn't that great at it. You know, we didn't
Right.
do a good job of onboarding people. We didn't do a good job of
Setting them up for
setting ground rules.
success.
And
Yeah.
so I think as a leader, yeah, set them up for success. And as a leader, it's our responsibility to do that. And so
Right.
now, gosh, I take that so seriously. And anybody you and I both know that are, you know, incredibly successful, they take that seriously. And every single person that works in their organization, they get that onboarding, they get that training, they have the understand what the culture is and how they fit in and what their roles and responsibilities are and what it means to win. Because
Yeah.
all that stuff is critical to the success of that person and of the business.
Yeah. No, and I love that. And something I'll share is, you know, people, one of my sayings was people don't like to be managed until they're managed to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Then they don't want to stop being managed.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I think because I had it in restaurants, I think I had an easy experiment. And what I mean by that is everything is now in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing at the time because I'm just a young, dumb kid, but I'm crushing audiobooks on the way to work about leadership. And then I'm going to work and I'm like moving everyone like chess pieces from the audiobook. And I came up with shit that worked really well. And I came up with shit that didn't work at all, you know, and it
Yep.
really ended up being like my training ground. And what I mean by that is with the server, they would be very resistant to leadership. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but I would go, I'd start running their food and bussing their tables. And I made sure the hostess was seating everyone fairly. Those are 3 huge wins for a server. Anyone who's in the restaurant business knows what I just said. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
but
Faster to turn the table, faster to get a new one.
yeah, but you know, on top of that, I would educate them on not that I realized, but customer service. If I heard them say something
Yeah.
stupid or that didn't come out right, I'd go by and go, hey, instead of this, say this. Instead of that, say that. Well, they would say that and immediately make more money because that's how tips work. Because they would
Yes.
so then they'd come back. What else you got? What else you got? You know,
Well,
and
it's
then
working. Yeah. What a
right. Well,
crazy idea.
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you know, and I like what you just talked about. You know, you didn't state it this way, but that's leading from the front. I think Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership and Dichotomy of Leadership, both those books just, you know, talk about that so much where it's like, no matter where you are in the pecking order, I mean, you were quote unquote the manager leading that team, and you're out there, you know, bussing tables, making sure that server is ready to rock. And it shows the rest of the team like, hey, it doesn't matter what it says on my name tag, doesn't matter what, you know,
Right.
I'm in. We're, you know, I'm on the ground just like you are, and we are going to kick ass, and we're going to make this.
Yeah.
You know, this team is awesome, and the service and experience is awesome because everybody wins when we work
Everyone.
together.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that you said that. And I'll just share one little story before we move on to some real estate stuff that I'm excited to hear you share. And I
Yeah.
remember I had this bartender and we had this rule. And the rule was, you know, the bar was really slow. And it was like we wanted to cycle bartenders to servers just so they stay fresh and they don't just get comfortable with the beers. So 1 shift a week as a server. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd go to our daytime bar girl who like maybe had 3 guests. I don't even know how she made any money. I bet we were paying her just the minimum wage amount. I mean, it was day bar Monday through Friday. And
Yeah.
I was like, hey, could you just do one? And she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm better than them. She said that to me behind closed doors.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, you did what? And it's funny because hearing what you just said made sense to me now why that was so offensive to me. Because
Mm,
at the time, I didn't realize why I was offended by her saying that. But hearing you reiterate what I did, because again, I didn't pick up like that because I'm just here to support people, man. You know,
yeah.
like if you're more supported, you're going to work harder. And if you don't work harder, it's easier to fire you because I only want people that work harder when they're supported. That's why I'm out here supporting them.
Yes.
As fast as I said that, but that, that makes a lot of sense. But anyways, she goes, I'm too good to do that. I said, I'll tell you what. If you go out there, if you go tell every server that's working today, there's only 3 other servers, that you're too good to do their job, I will never schedule you another serving shift again. She goes, I would never say that. I go, you just said that to me. What do
Yeah.
you mean you would never say that? You just said it. So if you own it, I will not. I said, otherwise, and she ended up quitting like 2 weeks later or something, which was really no skin off my back, but it was funny because when she quit, everyone was like, oh, they literally said I made her quit, is what they said. And I was like, she actually insulted all of you is
Yeah.
actually what happened. But I never shared that part of, her story. And I didn't let her insult you guys behind your backs is really what happened here,
That's so crazy.
Crazy. Yeah,
Well, at least, that at the end of the day, you don't want that person on your team because they're
exactly.
not there for the team anyway.
Exactly. And I guess I keep saying this, but the last thing is culture works two ways. You either have amazing culture and shitty people don't want to be a part of it.
Yep.
Or you have a shitty culture and amazing people don't want to be a part of it. And
100%.
and let me tell you, when you make that turn, and one rule I made is I allowed all my trainers to have the say so if someone should stay working there. I would say, look, I'm going to hire the wrong person. Okay. I need you to tell me when I do immediately. Immediately. Let's not wait 3 weeks and they're pissing people off. If you see that someone's not a great fit, I promoted you to trainer. I trust you. So if you tell me someone should be gone, I will fire them that same day. I told my whole team that. And that mutual accountability served us, so great.
Yes. Well, and then think about the empowerment for that person too. When you're like, hey, I trust your judgment too. And I know you've got my back and our whole team's back. And we're relying on each other to do that. And I mean, that's how would that person feel? They're going to puff up their chest and be like, yeah, all right.
They're going to operate stronger.
Yeah. He sees me, he trusts me.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Well, and that was, and first of all, I just want to point out how leadership, and this all started because you brought up the great point of proactively addressing your fears by creating a goal that doesn't change, that you agree will help kill those fears. And then I just want to give us some props that sparked this whole leadership tangent. But it's really been great, to do this, to chat like this. And, I remember one thing I did back when I was a restaurant manager, this is what I told myself. And I said, if I want to be an executive, because I was a restaurant manager and like, I can't speak for how I always did it to a really high level, but I can tell you that people look down on restaurant staff.
Yeah, they do.
I remember when I became an executive, a part of the problem was the other executives thought I shouldn't have been there. It's a true story because my restaurant career didn't qualify me enough to sit at a table of other people. And in my opinion, it qualified me 10 times for the record, but I understand how it's perceived, but so when I was a restaurant manager, I said, I want to be an executive. I said, I need to treat my team like they're executives. That's what I told myself. So I selected these 4 trainers and I put them each in charge of a department of the restaurant. And we met weekly as a restaurant. And so it's like, just to share with everyone else, if you're not in a place where you want to be, how can you create that space in what you're doing? My next job, I'm getting goosebumps. My next job, I was an executive after that in a totally different industry. Okay. And it's like, but it's because I don't know how I knew to, but I gave myself the experience. Let me be there now. So when I get there, I know what I'm doing. And I thought that was a really cool touch,
It makes such an impact. And it also means that you took yourself seriously, that I'm going to get better. And, there's nobody else who's going to take responsibility for yourself like yourself. And so it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter what it matters how you operate, how you carry yourself. Are you learning? Like Nicholas said, like each morning I walk and I'm listening to, self-development and business development and leadership development books, because every single day, no matter if I built a, multi-million-dollar business or I'm working in a restaurant as a waiter or doing whatever. It doesn't matter. You can get better
Right.
every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. My old boss said 1% better every day. And I
Yeah.
love that because it's kind of a bare minimum statement.
Yeah.
However, 1% better every day is 365% better by the end of the freaking year, and so
Yes.
I loved that quote. And, it might be the reason why I'm crushing it today, because I'm the kind of guy who gives myself what I call bare minimum goals,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so it's like, for me, I want to work out for at least 10 minutes every day. That's not a long time.
No.
But you know what? Zero is really bad. 0 minutes every day
Yeah.
is really bad.
Yeah. Well,
But
and
good.
I was going to say, and isn't it funny when you set those things? And by the way, I track this stuff too. I track how much protein do I eat and how much water do I drink, and did I read 10 pages, and did I have written gratitude and focus for the day? And I track all these things.
Yeah.
And I walk every morning, and I also do, like on mine is 10 push-ups. So it's literally, I'll go walk, but hey, knock out 10 push-ups. How many times do I do 10? Most of the time I do 20 or 30 or 50, but
Right.
10, like it's 10,
It's a
10 minutes.
mindset trick,
It's the
right?
mindset,
It's a
100%.
mindset trick. I can do that. I can do
Yeah.
that. I got time for that. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's what, I think that's what the trick is that we're not creating a daunting goal. I
Yes.
think is the trick. If I'm gonna work out 90 minutes, I'm just gonna I am gonna hit zero that day
Yeah.
if it's too big. But Nathan, I would love to get into, we're working on working together, making me money. I would love to get into how what you do, how maybe it could benefit anyone who's watching or myself. I'm not even super well versed on the layers, so feel free to I don't want to, use the word pitch, but feel free to, inform me and everyone else, like, how it is you could serve us, whether it's our money or it's our knowledge or anything else. I would just love some insight, before we wrap up, so they can know maybe more how to find you and how you can serve them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've just, I've worked diligently for 15 plus years, which is crazy to
Yeah,
hear that sound. Like 15 years seems insane. I still feel
yeah,
like that young man in my late teens, early 20s, but somehow a couple decades have passed.
yeah,
But
crazy.
you know so on the coaching side, hey, if you're somebody who's stuck and you're not sure what to do, or you want to invest but you haven't quite gotten that place, that's what we've built it for. And it's not around concepts that we think might be good ideas. It's literally concepts that we've done tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars on, and we're constantly refining. And so love doing that. And then like what you and I are working together on is awesome. We do short and midterm rentals. I have some long-term rentals too, but I mean, we make 5, 10, 15x revenue on our short and midterm rentals, and very consistently. And so it's just been fun dialing that in and finding places that we can buy awesome properties that have awesome returns. And that, by the way, what's that saying in real estate? Location, 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 right?
Right.
And so we buy great properties, they appreciate in value faster, they have a higher level of occupancy because people want to be there. And so, man, I really enjoy real estate, and I really enjoy that learning and growing and doing it. It's fun. Today
Yeah.
I'm closing on another short-term rental to speak. So it's a blast. And so if people want to connect with me, easiest way to do it is literally on any social platform. It's at Nathan Brooks REI. And you can shoot me a message, shoot me a direct message or whatever. And we'd love to connect if there's a way we can help you.
Awesome. No, that's great. And I'll make sure I add links where to find you and everything in here. And yeah, I think I think it's super cool what you're doing. Like I said, I wouldn't have said yes, if I didn't, see the value in that offer. And even now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm under my new investment strategy has to not keep me awake at night.
Yes.
Okay. I own 3 properties right now. And if I were to go speak in front of 50 people about owning real estate, it would not be pretty. Okay. And
Yep.
it's just my honest perspective, and it does keep me up at night. Are the tenants paying? What's happening? I got 2 claims on a house where pipes burst. Now I'm having a hard time finding someone to insure it, and it's
Mm,
like, I can't even tell you how I'm so glad I don't have 50 more of these to manage right now.
yeah.
Now cut to your deal.
Yeah.
You have a team. I don't.
Yeah.
You have systems in place. I don't. And so our opportunity together is, Nick, you can invest, you can be a real estate owner, you could benefit from it on a 50-50 partnership level, and you don't have to stay awake at night. I'll send you a text once a month and say, hey, we replaced the dishwasher. No big deal. It's in the budget. We're gravy. All right.
Yep.
And I think that that's really cool. I've been doing a lot of research into investments and where money can go, and why real estate is so great, simply put, and why I can't scratch it off the list no matter how bad I want to, is it's tax deductible,
Yeah.
and it's passive income. And I don't even no, it's not passive income. It's tax deductible and it's income. Okay.
Yeah. And it's more passive.
Yeah, right. Well, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it can be
Yeah.
passive. It can be more passive, but with an investment property or even investment period, a lot of that's either not tax deductible or it's either one or the other. Most of it is, oh, this is tax deductible, but it's not income, or, and so one thing about real estate is it's both. And I love that combo. And that's why I can't. So when your offer came along to be involved, not have to manage it, not stay up at night, and for me to be in a place where I can respect how painful managing it is,
Mhm.
was definitely a surefire hit for me.
Well, we're excited to get one rolling, and excited to do that with you. And it's just a blessing. I have to pinch myself and remind myself that it's such a blessing to do what you and I do. And there's so many people who are watching and thinking and wishing and desiring to do the very thing that you and I get to do every day.
Yeah.
And so I always try to start and end my day in gratitude with that. And obviously it's taken work and effort and sacrifice and money and pain and frustration and all these things, but hey, it's still a beautiful thing. And we're still very fortunate to what we get to do.
Yeah. Helping other people succeed has to be the coolest thing I've ever done.
100%.
It's cooler than the money that buys the cool stuff. When I have someone call me and they're like, Nick, it worked.
It's like, yes,
That's a lottery. That's a lottery win, for people like us.
yeah,
And that's a good point you're making. We help make dreams come true.
yes,
Whether
we do.
it's the education or the lead gen or even the investment and
Mhm.
multiplying my income, so I don't have to stress out about doing nothing with money sitting in the bank. It's
Yep.
cool to live a life in service.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
I do. Well, this has been awesome, Nathan, and I really appreciate it. We ended on a real Mr. Rogers note, and that's also that's
Hey,
also really cool.
it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
And we need to get on another call to iron out some more details and line up our next couple properties. I'm
Yep.
selling my property in Phoenix, so I'm gonna have more cash to deploy.
Nice.
So we'll chat about that. And brother, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and sharing that knowledge with us.
Ditto. I look forward to doing the deals, and I look forward to being on anytime. And I appreciate you, brother. Love your passion and love what you do for your people. And man, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, and I'll see you in a couple weeks, right? And is it next
I
Monday
can't.
already?
Yeah, it's
Wow,
literally a week. Yeah, a week from
a week from
Monday. A week from
today.
today.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll see you then, brother. Have a good
Awesome,
one.
brother. Yeah. See you then.
See you.